The people that I feel need to watch this video probably aren't gonna watch it. If we look at the two extremes here, the liberal left is in their safe space, in this nice, safe, airtight bubble where no words can get in, and the alt-right's too busy slamming swords and racial slurs, trying to lacerate any bubble they see from the left. And neither extremes are gonna relax long enough to hear a side that's not theirs. But even as we venture into more moderate territory, we still don't get anywhere. News and messages blinded with bias and media oftentimes get lost in translation. And depending on what side you're on, you're usually forced to see things through a certain lens. And we almost always lose sight on what the full truth is. It's only when we take off these glasses that we are able to have an actual discussion, but doing something like that makes you vulnerable. It makes you very, very exposed, which isn't something a lot of people are willing to do. And I definitely understand that. And I'm sitting here and I feel like I've taken off these proverbial glasses, I guess, and I don't consider myself wise or brave for doing this at all. In fact, I consider myself stupider every single year, and right now I'm terrified. I made a video response to MTV's video entitled, "Hey white guys, we came up with some New Year's resolutions for you." In my response, I picked apart a few things that made me really upset, but the biggest reason why I got so mad is because they took a bunch of issues like Black Lives Matter, struggles with people of color, feminism, and pick some of the lowest hanging fruit options just to get views. And all they wanted was to like pat people of color on the back. Using these serious topics and putting it in a shitty video with terrible comedic execution, just as an attempt to garner some allies of color. And I would love to continue my evisceration, but that's not what this video is about. Because I think the video, the responses, everything speaks to a much bigger issue. The responses to my response video have been overwhelmingly positive. I've never been that well celebrated on the internet before. It was really awesome. I got followed by some politicians. Joe Rogan even tweeted that he liked the video. It was surreal. But like with anything that you put out into the internet, it's going to be met with criticism, with backlash. There was constructive criticism, albeit not much. A lot of the negative was very negative, very not constructive. Among other things, a lot of people commented that I'm the typical virgin nerd troll for making this. And all I can really say is joke's on them, because when I was 15, I got doxxed in an AOL chat room and a guy broke into my house and raped me. So, take that. I mean, that's not a joke. That happened. What wasn't surprising is when I would tweet back at some of these people that would even say things that were constructive at all, they would just hit me with the immediate block, or they would just ignore it completely. What was really intense and actually genuinely hurtful is I was called a coon, Uncle Tom, waste of black skin, you want white approval so bad, oh my god, this guy wants to be white, this is proof of how whitewashed you are, you just lost your black card, wow, I can't believe you're dancing for the white people. And I guess the reason why it hurt so much is my whole life I've just wanted to fit somewhere. I'm too black for the white kids, too white for the blacks. Overnight, a lot of people, at least with the hashtag movement in their bio or their name, have pretty much identified me as an enemy of Black Lives Matter, as my video allegedly incited more racism or gave white people ammunition to be racist, which wasn't my intention at all, obviously. I can't control who uses my words as a platform. My words are my own, and this is not the first time that it's happened. In every community, no matter what it is, there's always gonna be people that take shit too far. And if I'm gonna be dragged through the black community, called a coon, waste of black skin, a traitor, for my words being used as unauthorized ammo, then so be it. I know some of you are like, well, they don't speak for the whole movement. Okay, well then who the fuck does? Black Lives Matter is a brilliant social movement. It has shed so much light on police brutality against people of color because we were never saying that police only target people of color. From what I understand of the movement, we are just shedding light that it happens. And people wouldn't believe us, but now we have video cameras and we're showing you that it happens. That's it. That is what I believe one of the core fundamentals of the movement is. Just trying to get across the message that people of color are being targeted as much, if not more, than your typical white person. However, the movement lacks a cohesive national leader, and instead, it's just a coalescence of people coming together and shouting different messages. Most of these messages are just lost in translation or just blinded by hate. Having no concrete leader is such a huge flaw because you have these anonymous Twitter users repping BLM, but saying the most disgusting, heinous shit I've ever seen. And how do we know that doesn't represent the movement? It's been said that one of the reasons why Black Lives Matter does not have one leader is because they do not want to be silenced by assassination or kidnapping one individual person in order to like put a dent in the movement's resilience. And that totally makes sense. But does everybody get that memo? Or is the movement okay with the idea that anyone with black skin and a heartbeat can use BLM to bully any and everybody they can scrape retweets off of? Some used my response video for the alt-right agenda. My words were clearly not not a part of any political agenda. It was a knee-jerk reactionary video that I made in a minute before going to Wingstop. I wasn't pandering. I wasn't being dishonest. I was saying exactly what I felt in the moment. But when they use my video, they don't slap a hashtag Sky Williams said. No, they just use it. But on almost every single Twitter profile, either in the tweet themselves, in their bio, or somewhere in their name, BLM was there. And I was crucified. I was dragged up and down Twitter and called the absolute worst things that I've ever been called. When I made my statements in some tweets and some in the video, I said things that were ignorant. Mostly because I did not have the time to sit there and explain everything that I meant, and because you can't fit everything into Twitter. But there was much I did not know. I admit to that. I was ignorant, but I was willing to learn and understand. I responded to so many people very, very honestly. I was always asking, well, help me understand this way. Help me understand this. Yet a lot of what I got was blocks and insults. Before I could even tweet back at them, I'm already blocked. Out of the hundreds of people that tweeted me angrily, mentioning that Black Lives Matter except mine, there was only maybe a handful, I would even argue 3, that was willing to actually listen to me. DM me, sit me down, help me. The rest of you hung me out to dry, and you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. If somebody is struggling, you help them. If somebody is ignorant and they want to know more, you don't just assume that they are benighted and you grab the noose. That is not what you do. That night, so many tweets tossed me to the whites. Literally just said, okay, no, he's done. We don't claim him. You know, I've heard a lot of people about this movement say that they had to unlearn like the hatred for their skin. Not 1 second have I ever hated anything about my skin color until 2 nights ago. And you know what? Here, go ahead, take my skin. Because even if a small portion of these people exist, if being a part of Black Lives Matter means to burn people at the stake for ignorance instead of welcoming them and trying to help, especially when they're your own kind, then I don't want to have anything to do with the movement. If I were gonna use the definition of racism that many activists in the Black Lives Matter movement use, then I can safely say that the treatment that I experienced that night on Twitter, and still even right now, is by far the worst racism I've ever received by people that share the same skin color. I don't wanna be a part of that. And maybe it's better that y'all have my skin. Maybe it's better the black community come up and y'all niggas can just have it. That's one less crutch my comedy can rest on, I guess. And as an interdict against anyone using my words out of context, let's set the record straight here. I tweeted that I felt that Black Lives Matter, the movement, has gone full-blown racist. Obviously, I couldn't elaborate because it was a reply on Twitter. This wasn't a counter to a statement that said, if I'm giving trouble to this MTV video, I must be against Black Lives Matter. This isn't true. I'm not an activist, but I think the principles that Black Lives Matter stand for, I don't think anyone disagrees with it. People of color want to shed light on the unjust behavior of us and the violent treatment that people of color receive. But much like anything in life, there are extreme points that I do not agree with. I don't believe in white genocide. I don't think every white person is the problem. I'm very comfortable with separating somebody's action from his or her skin color, and I don't think it's a good idea to have this half-assed, half-baked, fucking horrible MTV video represent any part of Black Lives Matter. The MTV video struck a chord with me, I'm gonna be honest, because it's literally telling white people what not to do. I don't care if you put a Christmas jingle in it, that's fucking racist. Myself and many others believe that video was just blatantly racist. This, of course, is met with the argument that black people cannot be racist. And that statement is backed by the idea that racism describes a system of disadvantage based on race. Black people aren't capable of being racist, as we don't stand to benefit from that system. When I pull the dictionary definition, a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. After doing some research, I learned that African American sociologists have taken back the meaning of racism to fix it in this modern era. Mainly because if I call a white person mayonnaise or cracker, that's not really gonna do anything to them. But if white people perpetuate that black people are lazy, black people are violent, this is going to put subconsciously into people's minds and make it harder for us to succeed. I was told racism is incomplete because it doesn't talk about the implications of power and structures. But if I'm being honest, I think the word just fucking sucks. This word will dismantle anything the right or anyone has to say about any person of color. It's so fucking ridiculous. The fucked up part is really the people all the way on the right, they're all white as fuck. They are in no position to ever neutralize the word racism, so they're gonna have to just keep taking L's every time it's thrown at them, whether they're being racist or not. If they get the word thrown at them, that's the L. And the sad part is these double standards are nuts. But of course, no one can talk about it except people of color. But people of color are typically too afraid to talk about it because if we talk about it, suddenly we're traitors. Or suddenly I'm white and I'm kicked out of the barbecue. What about that age-old example of a white woman walking down the street in a predominantly black neighborhood with high crime rates between 2 and 4 a.m. 3 a.m. hits, she's walking to her car, she sees two black gentlemen walking her way. She crosses the street early, specifically to avoid them. Is she racist? No! The bitch was probably just doing complicated math, using the law of averages to not die. She probably thinking, well, the crime rate is between 2 and 4, carry the 3. Gosh golly gee, that's 3 white bitches dead per capita. Ta-ta! But when cops are given a hard time by people of color, because the person of color assumes that it's because they're a person of color, is that not a very similar assumption? As you've heard every single black comedian beat to death, we are documented to be very afraid of the police. Are we not using the same statistics here? Or are we only allowed to draw numbers and pull inferences when it benefits us, when we're calling someone else racist? Is that I didn't get that email, is that it? Somewhere along the way, the shitty word racism that was already poorly defined has been changed, has been doctored to fit the narrative of the struggling person of color, which I understand completely. Change needs to happen to that word, or at the very least a concrete definition. Or to not to concede that we are divided on that definition is not fair, and it's stupid. We are doing magnitudes of injustice by leaving that conversation closed. I believe that if somebody is being genuinely awful, genuinely abhorrent, we can just attack them there. You know what actually sucks? It's subconscious now. When I hear X person was being racist, I immediately think of black person calling a white person racist. I have not changed that thought process for years. There was a time where I legitimately thought Asian people, Latino people, people that just anyone that wasn't black used the word racist. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it's gotten. I only hear black people use it. I only hear us use it. It's such a shitty word. It stops conversation. It stops dialogue. It stops growth. If you're experiencing any pushback in any situation, or you're having any disagreement you feel like you have no more ammunition for, you could just call them racist. And suddenly everything they say has just no credit, just invalidated completely. Because you painted them that way to gain social capital. It's like being in an argument in public. I mean, like, calm down, you're being so dramatic. Even if the person wasn't being dramatic, everyone's looking around like, well, it looks like that person has the right head. The other person should stop being dramatic. And now the other person has no choice but to lower their voice, which is a very strong social play by this fucker. But that's why I don't let that shit slide. You call that shit to me, I'm gonna let you know why I'm not. I know what I am. I know who I am. I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm being. And if you use that shit to me in a discussion, I'ma shit on you, because you just lost. You pretty much showed me a card and said, yeah, I got nothing more to say. Racist. From what I've gathered, Black Lives Matter subsists on the idea that white people in history have created this status quo that is unfair to the people of color. And as it is something that only white people can fix, it is their obligation to fix these things so that we may live as equals. And I think that's bullshit. You talk about how you don't feel like you should be saying anything nice to white people because of white fragility. Well, you know what? I'm gonna deliver this to you in the same exact way. That's fucking wrong. I mean, honestly, it sucks to say, and I don't want it to be true, but because the white people are in power, they are not obligated to do anything. We want them to see us working hard. We want them to see us suffering. We want them to see that we are not being treated equally, and we want to appeal to the same thing that makes us human, our hearts, our feelings. We don't want to scream at them and try to think that'll make change and get mad when there's pushback. We all want equality because we feel like we will all be happier if we love each other. But gassing up Twitter posts saying kill all white people and white people fucking suck and making a stupid MTV video bending down and wagging your finger at white people is not what's gonna make it happen. We may never be in the position of power. We may never be equal. We may never be in the power, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying we have to get on our knees and lick boot, but hating every single white person is not gonna achieve that goal. Coming at them with so much hatred and charged anger, and I understand why you're mad. I get it why people are upset. I get it why people are grabbing their nearest fucking megaphone and going out and protest. I get it. I just don't agree with the method. That's all. Race will always matter. and will always be relevant. But I refuse to only look at race when I see someone do a terrible action. I look at them as a person. I look at who they are. I look at what they've done. Race doesn't play in my head all the time. Sometimes it's really obvious, but not all the time it's not that obvious. And it's just so irresponsible and shitty to just disregard and just say all white people are bad or all white people are this. You know what? Honestly, that's the bitch way out, because you don't want to face the fact that people have different variances of being horrible. It's so much easier to look at a white crime and just say, well, yeah, all white people think that way, instead of delving into this psycho's mind. It's so scary. There are so many people on this earth, all different levels of fucked up, and it's so ignorant to paint every white person as some monster. It's the dumbest shit I've ever fucking heard. I feel that if we want to grow, if we genuinely want to grow from here, we're gonna have to start where it counts, the person. That's why I said in the video, that judge letting that white kid go and prioritizing him over his victim, like I said earlier in the video, I'm a rape victim. I was pissed, but I didn't think, oh, white agenda. No, the judge is a fucking idiot and should be immediately incarcerated. The old man that bumped into that black kid and shot him and said, this piece of trash. I heard he had a history of being very violent with other people of other ethnicities, but look, all I'm saying is that man is a lunatic. And I'm not trying to say that racism doesn't happen. I'm not trying to say this shit doesn't exist. I'm not trying to say that we aren't being killed off for just our race alone, but I am trying to say that a weak-minded individual is going to just typecast everyone, one race. A weak-minded individual is gonna look at all white people and think they're the same. And it takes real strength, and it's so hard and it's so scary to look at someone in the eye and understand how horrible they are. And that awfulness, that terrible person that they are, I just refuse to believe that it's only based on their skin color. The sooner we start identifying these individuals as disgusting, pathetic, degenerate pieces of human garbage, the sooner I believe that we can start living in this beautiful space together and isolating out these individual shitheads. Maybe I'm stupid to believe that racism is just not only intrinsic to the skin, it's learned. It's indoctrinated by what the media shows, not only on the news channels, but all these Twitter sites. And if you have things like kill all white people and all white people are bad, they're gonna learn that. And unless we inculcate these kids and teach them that these things aren't okay every single day, get it in their head because they're so impressionable, these children are gonna grow up with these jokes on Twitter, but actually believing that it's okay to say fuck all white people or dear all white people, here's what you don't do. They're gonna think that white genocide is okay. The Black Lives Matter movement has the potential to be one of the most wonderful movements in my lifetime. I've always wanted to make a difference like that, and I want to be a part of it. I would love nothing more if everybody just on this planet literally just shared the day-to-day life of understanding that life just fucking sucks, but we can have a few laughs indiscriminate of race. And I know not all of the feelings and the things that I've said represent all of Black Lives Matter, but unless we have some sort of call to action, some sort of structure for this movement at all, these terrible people that are misrepresenting the music on almost every facet of social media are gonna go unchecked, and they're not gonna be punished. They're gonna keep saying shit like kill all white people and I hate them, or I'll block you if you're white, or don't at me if you're white, and get glorified with retweets, favorites, and follows. But you're already gone. You're not listening. You clicked off the video a while ago to go respond to me on Twitter, maybe to block me or quote the video and just arbitrarily say I'm ignorant and not really put forth a point. You heard something that triggered you, that went off the Black Lives Matter script, and your brain told you to just X out anything that doesn't agree. And you're gonna quote me and call me a traitor to all the black people for your 47 retweets and emojis from people that you'll never meet. You'll find pictures, you'll keep calling me ugly, fat, whatever you could think of, or before you even say anything, you'll block me. I guess that's the real tragedy of the movement though. A lot of you took something that could have been so beautiful and you turned it into your own cringy fucking agenda, your own brand new My Chemical Romance X Panic at the Disco album with some of the worst song lyrics I've ever heard, and you want people to pity you because a white person cut you in line and suddenly you want justice. Y'all really want to start a war with every white person because they racist, but you won't. You know why? Because just like every New Year's diet resolution, just like every time that you have been asked to go to a white person's Thanksgiving and eat their food, just like every discussion that you're a part of, or when you feel any pushback, you block them, just like thinking, writing, or saying an organic thought without the fucking Black Lives Matter script in front of you. Just like this video, you can't finish it, so please, don't start what you can't finish. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've promised what little audience I have retained from years of trying so hard to fit in with the fuck white straight people shit. Y'all really had me believing that if I wasn't saying fuck whitey, I wasn't black. I've had so many conversations this past week and in the past, and every single time they'd say, hey, you sound like a white guy. You sound like you one of the whites, like you're fighting for the whites. So I have to play up these black jokes and these gay jokes because if people don't think that I live my identity, then I'm a traitor. And if I wasn't vocal on every issue, even if I didn't agree, I was a traitor or I was a bad role model. And I care about my audience so much, I don't want to be that. And I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. It's really pathetic. And I'm really ashamed of myself. I really hate myself. I hate these words. I hate this feeling, this realization that you just can't make everybody like you. And I wanted that so bad, no matter how bad you want them to. But from here on out, if you're going to not like me, or you're going to hate me, or you're going to think any way of me, it's going to be from the truth. It's going to be from who I am. And if that doesn't coincide with your agenda, then oh well. But from here on out, if you're going to hate me, you're going to hate me for the right reasons. You're going to know exactly who I am and what I stand for. And I'm just not. I'm done. I'm completely done. With everything fake, I want to be just me all the time. And if you hate me because of that, those real reasons, and that doesn't fit your agenda and I'm a traitor, then shit. I put my brand, my friends, my peers, my coworkers, and most importantly, my audience in jeopardy by feeding into this bullshit. My dream is to make a sitcom, meet Dave Chappelle, and be an A- entertainer in the world. I think a lot of the damage that I've done to myself, mentally, and to my audience, to my brand, to my channel, I feel it's irreversible. I only have myself to blame, and like my dad always said, if you make your bed hard, you gotta lay in it. I'm not left, I'm not right, I don't know what I am. I don't know what I believe. I don't know what to believe, but I know what I don't believe in, and that's the current state of Black Lives Matter. And if you think that makes me a traitor to my own race, you can honestly fuck right off. I love my skin. I love being black, and I don't have to hate anyone to love my skin color. I don't have to hate. I can just exist. I can love. I have the potential to love everybody on this earth, indiscriminate of their race. And that doesn't make me a bad person. And I'm not gonna let you make me feel that way.